Good afternoon. We'll just wait for a couple of minutes and just see if a few others turn up. Got a few minutes to go, but there seems to be about 5 or 6 of us online. I think we're expecting 20 to 30 people, so hopefully they show up in a moment, but we'll get started very shortly. Just wait half a minute or so. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. I hope you've all remembered that, otherwise you're in trouble. Okay, if you haven't met me before, my name's Mark Fairbairn. I'm the National Sales and Marketing Manager for Masterspec, and I also look after a little bit of product development, and eCert is a new product development for Masterspec. We've been working on eCert for probably 2 years, and it came about from a whole lot of things. So I'll just range through what eCert is. We'll do a little demonstration, and then hopefully we'll cover off what it means to you as product partners as well going forward. And then the wider picture around what Masterspec is doing with embodied carbon is a bigger story that I think product partners also need to be aware of. It's not for right now, but I think you guys just need to be made aware of where we're going in the future, because there is a plan. Anyway, so why did we put this new functionality out? Basically, Masterspec specifiers and designers had approached us to solve a whole lot of problems for them. And it was really about trying to find sustainability information or good green information. And it's a time-consuming process for them. It becomes quite a pain to actually get all this content together, but if you need to quantify what's in your building, or if you need to somehow either register what's in your building for either the Green Building Council or declare for the Living Building Challenge, or you just want to be a good sustainable architect and show a proof source of what you've done to the client and to the builder. So it's really hard to get that content, and trying to compare and assess that product is essential to early choices in specification. And it was a problem for the architects. And they also had a real problem with trying to come up with substantiated documents. In other words, documents go out of date and they need to be maintained. So that's what they also wanted. They wanted someone to actually get these documents together and keep them tidy for them, and effectively keep them in a catalogue and a series. And then recording or syncing that information back to the project documentation was also difficult. So it's a case of actually trying to keep all that stuff together. So what we decided, we'd try and do that functionality and wrap it up in one, which is eCert at some level. So the current functionality covers a whole lot of industry accepted ranges of product information. And so you can see those on the right hand side, and we'll go through those in a bit more depth. But what we did was we talked to the architects, in particular the commercial architects who are doing this space, and they said to us, we want to see a certain set of documentation, not just documentation randomly from all over the world. So in effect, this is respected documentation that they can compare against other respected documentation. In other words, it's the community itself has accepted that this type of documentation does work. But we are open to future formats, but we have included 7 formats, and we'll show you that in a second. But it also means that we allow the specifier to upload any other document as well into eCert, so they're not limited by that. So they have their own functionality where they can load a document per project against the eCert documentation, and I'll show you what that does as well in the demo. So we'll get onto that a little later. So the documentation that we do accept is EPDs, Declare, Global Green Tag, Eco Choice, Tutoi, but there are Tutoi Carbon Zero documentation. It's not the Tutoi documentation around the manufacturer's workplace, it's around the product set, if you like. So there are slight differences in that. And then you've got FFC and PEFC. So they're obviously related in the forestry products. But this is what architects told us, the documentation they generally need. And obviously it's readily available, and they can use it as a comparison source against others. So its primary function, eCert, is as a comparison tool set up front before they actually get into the specifying itself. It allows them to search and have a look at some of the documents, and also compare against CBI ranges. So if you're unsure what CBI is, coordinated building information, it's that 4-digit code we give you. So effectively you can look at different ranges of CBI across, say, roofing, for example. You might be looking at metal roofing, but you might also want to look at timber options as well, and have a look at the documentation or eCert documentation that's available in the market and compare and range those product sets. And I'll show you that in a second too. But this is basically what it does. It allows them to make that upfront choice, have a look at the documentation, see what's available across that eCert range, and then actually go in and put that together. So this is just a quick demo of what it looks like. We'll slow it down and I'll actually do it in real time for you in a moment, but it basically allows them to select documentation and upload it against the specification. And also we actually start to insert content into the specification with this. Okay, so it's actually scheduling the information into the specification. And I'll show you why that's important too. So I'll back up for a second. Let's go and have a look live at the system. Excuse me for a second. Get this up. So the system itself is inside the current Masterspec system. They didn't have to do anything different. It was an add-on. You guys can as well go in and have a look at this. You've all got to log in, go and have a go at it, and have a look at yourself. So I'm just in a specification here. I'll go and open the work sections themselves. And what you'll notice here is if I open roofing, you'll notice these extra icons down the side here, which is the eCert icon, which is telling the specifier that there is documentation attached to each of these, right? So Masterspec has taken a proactive approach, and over December and earlier, we preloaded those 7 sets of documentation that we could find. Okay, so we looked around in the marketplace and we got all the documentation we could together, and we loaded them up against the work sections and to make them available. All right, so eCert works like this. If I am a specifier, I can now look at the range of documentation across the CBI 4311. If I wanted to, I can add further CBIs to it. So I can look at, say, plywood roofing and decking, add that, and just turn off all the documents that don't exist. And so now I've got another alternative source here. This is 4337. I can also add, let's have a look at concrete tiles, profile roofing. I'll add that. And here's another document in here. Right. So what I can do as a specifier is I can go, okay, well, let me look at up to 4 of these. I'm just going to randomly pick some stuff here. And I can go and compare the environmental documentation in it. So in here, I can actually see those documents now attached to each of the work sections, read and understand them. In this particular case, this has a range of EPDs that I could go and look at against this work section. I can do those. I can print them if I want to, or if I decide that actually that is the document or the type of product I want, I can actually just go in and I can go and click a download. And now it's showing me, okay, these are all the EPDs, all the environmental documents that are attached to it. I'm using a particular version of it, so I don't need all of those. I only need one of those EPDs. Actually, we'll say it's not those two. It's zinc core and the zinc core color code. And then I'm going to add that document. And if I want, I can remove and add documents. And then I'm going to do the Q&A. I can just download it without the Q&A. That will just drop the whole section in. But typically, this is what architect will do. I'll just skip through this for brevity by just clicking the top one so you can see it. So now the specifier has made a decision. They've added a work section, and we downloaded a set of documents with it. And you'll see in here, we've now included an automated clause. That automated clause now shows the documents that I have attached or wanted to attach with my manufacturer's specification. So there's my EPD, my declare document, etc. is all in there. So if I go and do that, I can go and look at the back of my specification, open up the eCert appendix, and I can see the work sections that I've already attached. And I think it was this one. Sorry, which one was it? Further down, was it? So there's my documents. I can actually preview the documents again if I want to. I can delete the documents or detach them, or add more documents, and I can do that with any of the work sections that I currently have loaded. In this particular case, I've got this. I can actually add these documents without going through the eCert tool again, but I can manage the whole work section and specification eCert documents from my appendix at the back at any point. So it just gives them freedom to do that. So I showed you just before that the work sections now are including the schedule clauses, and the schedule clause actually links to this thing here, the schedule work section, which shows all of the environmental documentation that is attached to the project, and it tells you tells you that what type of document it is. It gives a certificate number, gives the name of the document and its expiry date, and of course that's attached as a schedule in effect of the documentation in front. So then this can be used very quickly in a number of ways, whether they're checking off documentation for to pass an environmental mark, or that they just want the documentation and know that they've actually gone through and assessed and added all this documentation as a specifier. So it's just a nice, easy methodology for them to do it, and it's all automated. So it takes no time at all. Effectively, the specifier is saved a whole lot of time as the process is automated for them by just adding or removing the documents. All of this is actually automated for them, so they don't have to do them. So automated scheduling is a new functionality that we've included for specifiers with this system eCert. So it makes it very simple for them. So why that's important to you guys. So it will allow you guys to illustrate your product sustainability credentials. So across a range, you guys can add that documentation. Now, we have probably added that documentation for you, but if you want to go and check, I'll show you how to do that in a moment as well. So it helps specifiers make informed decisions about what they're doing. Now, it's not for every specifier in the world, but you will find a lot of them are very much concentrating on sustainability, and they want to make sure that they can get that documentation easily. They don't have to go to 55 different sites, and they don't have to type in all the content manually anymore. It just makes it so much easier for them. So the feedback we've had since it was launched in November from the specifiers themselves is that they really, really like this tool set. It allows them to do a whole lot quicker, and it allows them to get to the content as fast as they need to without having to do that, and it's in the right place. Against the specification, they have the environmental information to match up with it. So they're doing it once, not doing it twice. So it just saves them time and effort. So how do you get to it? So you'll need to basically be logged in, and if you look under your suppliers tab, you will find eCert Manage. And if you go and click eCert Manage, if you want to just follow along, you can do that on your own machine if you want to. You'll see what has actually been loaded by the Masterspec editor team. So we've gone through and looked at those and added these documents for this particular product partner, and they're all loaded in here, and you can see basically what they are, what type of document, when they were uploaded, their expiry date, and a review date. All right, so when they're reviewed. You can upload documents for us to go and put in as well, or you can just go and review the information that's in there if you want. So if you click on that publish there, you will see what the document is against. So this is the work sections that it's against, and again just the data of when it was uploaded, when the document has been last reviewed, and when the document is due to expire, and its current status, whether it's published or withdrawn. If you want to withdraw a document, it's over to you. You have the power to do that. That button is right there. You can go and withdraw any document. The replace allows you to upload a new document over the top, because we all know that they're obviously going to expire at some point. They have a set phase. You can also push the replace. The advantage of pushing replace is that it advises the specifier that a new document is available to replace the original document they loaded. Whereas upload allows you to upload new documents. So that functionality, or the functionality, is all in that header right there for you. So the other functionality, which is really easy, and we've tried to make it as easy as possible, if you want to upload documents for consideration for the Masterspec guys to put into your system, it's the upload button there. And basically, upload button, there are 4 key pieces of information you're going to need to put in, right? You're going to need the file. So it's a PDF file. You need to upload a PDF file format. That's what we accept, because that's what we load against the appendice. You need to load it against the work section. That will preload your work sections in the system, because we know that what work sections you have with us. Then you need to load an expiry date. That's the expiry date on the document, please. So put that in there to the best of your knowledge. We will check it, of course. You don't need to put a review date. The review date is an option. Okay, so the review date is an option because by default, we will put a review date in which is 1 month prior to the expiry date. But if you, for some reason, you know you're going to have to review that document, or you want to replace it at a certain point of time, maybe a new product line or something along those lines, you can put in a defined review date if you want to. That's what that's for. But you don't have to fill in that data. Just put the expiry date and we'll default it. And then you need, obviously, to put in the document type. And again, those typologies are in there. It's just under the drop down. And the document title. Sorry, excuse me, just going back. And the document title itself. So then, obviously, exactly word for word what the document is called. And then push the upload button. It will load in your contact email details. So if for any reason we're short of information or we need to understand where that goes, we will contact the loader of this document. And so the team looks at the information, checks it against it, and then makes it live against the work section. In other words, we're just authenticating that the content is correct before we push it live. So the editor team is just doing that for you, and classifying all of the content around expiry dates, etc., so that when it goes into those scheduled clauses, we know it's absolutely correct and there's no error in the system. So it's just a case of us substantiating that information before it goes live. So yeah, and there is actually, you can't quite see it in this screenshot, underneath it, it has an alternative contact email. So if you know you're away or you want someone else to also be contacted if there's an issue with it, you can put in 2 contact emails. So let's just have a look at the if you like, the wider picture of what Masterspec's been doing. And I'm sure you've heard about us partnering up with brands, which we've done, as we're going to put out an embodied carbon library for the market. So the idea is to have a New Zealand standardized system so that all the information is one place that everybody can use it. And if you look along here, this is basically what we're doing as a timeline. So eCert, which we've launched recently, is the first cab off that rank. It's not carbon, it's sustainability information, but it does contain EPDs, and EPDs is that carbon data, if you like. So this is the first step along the path. And if you'll notice here that we've actually wanting to launch an ability for you to submit documentation, which is basically an EPD into the system. Well, we've done that. So as of last week, we've made this available, and I'll show you this quickly as well. So just have this, and so just before I do that as well, we've just been communicating to market. So this is notes, for example, which goes out. You guys probably also might receive this, but it's really aimed at the specifiers. But you can see in here that we've been communicating with them recently. And so this is just what we've done in the last month or so. So over the January period, we've loaded an additional 129 EPDs, declare documents, eco-choice documents, global green tags. So a whole range of additional documentation. There's now 262 environmental certificates in the system, and it will be obviously an ongoing case of loading and maintaining that information through the process. So that's why we are using the editor team to do that, to keep the content always up to date. So if you want to load some content, you can go to the site, ccd.co.nz, and it's a very simple process. You can go and upload an EPD against it, and we will keep that record. And then when the carbon repository goes live, we will include your details. And so what we need is an EPD from you. So you can go and drop it in there, up to 10 of them in effect. You can go and load a document. I'm just going to load something randomly here. And then put your company name in, your name as a contact, and then your email, push submit, and now that's sitting in the Masterspec system, and we'll put that into the Carbon repository going forward when we launch that later this year. So it's just a quick methodology for you guys to be able to load documentation into the system, and obviously what we're looking for is an EPD, so that we can load the embodied carbon information into the New Zealand Carbon repository so that everybody can use it and see that content in a standardized format. And so we'll be doing that over this year, but we've got to obviously build that content, but we want to make sure that you guys know that you can load the documentation to us and be assured that we will put it into the repository going forward. Now, you don't have to be a Masterspec member to do that, obviously, and that's why this is available, because we want to make sure that it's an open source document that everybody can use. So if you're not a Masterspec client, you can load your EPD. As long as it's construction related, we will try and include that information into the Carbon repository so that everybody can use that going forward. All right, that's probably quite a bit of information to get into, and I basically want to make sure that you knew that you were aware of this, and that you can go and do that if you want to. If we've loaded your EPD, we've got it anyway, so we won't need that. But if you want to load further EPDs, we have updated information. Please feel free to load it to this ccd.co.nz site. All right, so thanks for your time, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the 4th. Have a great Valentine's Day. Don't forget to pick up those flowers on the way home. Cheers.